Number 17. Which of the following is not one of the four fourth roots of 16 times the cosine of 120 plus I times the sine of 120? Alright, so the first thing you need to know is what this all really means, because might be a little bit foreign to a lot of people. This is called the polar form of a complex number. So what that means is I have a circle right here. And let's say this is the origin, because, it is. So this 16 will tell us how far away from the origin our point is. This is basically a point. This is basically a point the same way that 2, 3 is a point. This is also a point on what's called the complex plane, where instead of having an x-axis and a y-axis, we now have a real axis and an imaginary axis. So, the way to interpret this is our point will be exactly 16 units away from the origin, and it will be at an angle of 120 degrees from the positive x-axis. So, say this angle is roughly 120, and let's say this is about 16. And so this would be the point that corresponds to this equation. Now, so we're going to have to take the fourth root, and lucky for us, we have a formula for this. So it turns out that if you take something in the form of r times cosine theta plus I sine theta, which is what we have. Notice r is 16, theta is 120, and you raise it to a power. In this case, if you're taking the fourth root, you're raising it to the 1/4 power. Then this turns out to be r to the n, so you raise the distance to the power, multiplied by cosine of n theta plus I sine of n theta. So you multiply all your angle measures by your power. Let's see if we can apply this. So we have 16 times the cosine of 120 plus I sine of 120. If we take the fourth root, that's the same thing as to the 1/4 power. So 16 to the 1/4 power, or the fourth root of 16, that's just going to be 2. And then cosine of n theta. So this will be cosine of 120 degrees times 1/4. So cosine of 30 degrees plus I sine of 30 degrees. Okay, so this is one of our fourth roots. And if we were to evaluate this, we would get something along the lines of, well, cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. Sine of 30 is 1/2. And then if you distributed your 2, you would get square root of 3 plus I. And so we can immediately eliminate b. But it says that we have 4 fourth roots of this complex number, and we only got one of them. So the thing to realize is that whenever you get a complex root, there are also other complex roots that are evenly distributed around the circle. So let's say that, here I'm going to try to draw where this is approximately. So 2 cosine 30, I sine 30. Okay, so I'm going to say it's around here. So this is a 30-degree angle, and this is around 2. So if it's going to be evenly distributed, and there's going to be 4 of them, then it means that each has to be 90 degrees apart from the other. So we're going to have one at theta equals 30 degrees, one at theta equals 120 degrees, one at theta equals 210 degrees, and one at theta equals 300 degrees. And then notice if you went an additional 90, you would get theta equals 390 degrees, but that's the same thing as theta equals 30. And if you were to evaluate all of these, you would just slowly cross off the ones that you got, and then you just be left with the one you don't have. So I don't really want to evaluate that, to be completely honest with you, because that might take a second. So I'm going to show you a trick with your TI Inspire that will hopefully make this process a little bit quicker. So You want to pull up your TI Inspire. You go to Menu, Algebra, and then down here we have a section for complex numbers, and we have a complex solver. So basically what we're doing if we're finding the fourth root is we're just solving for when x to the fourth, we're solving for x when x to the fourth equals 16 times cosine 120 plus I sine 120. So let's just do that. So we have cosine 120 plus, and then we have to go down here to get I, times I sine of 120, comma x, and then we get all of our answers. So notice right here, we have our square root of 3 plus I that we canceled out earlier. So let's just look at which ones we have. So we have negative square root of 3 minus I. So we can get rid of A. We have 1 minus square root of 3I. So that's this one. We can cancel out C. And lastly, we have negative 1 plus square root of 3I, which is E. And so the only option left that we have is D, and that is the answer. So if you have any questions from other tests, make sure to leave a comment and I will make a video with the solution. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Investigative Math, and I will see you next time.